Batman in the Marvel Universe. Imagine the Dark Knight teaming up with Spider-Man, facing off against Thanos or outsmarting Doctor Doom. How would Batman's legendary detective skills and relentless pursuit of justice fit in the world with the Avengers and the X-Men? In this video, we're going to explore the epic possibilities and game-changing scenarios that could possibly happen if Batman joined the Marvel Universe. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Let's Talk Comics, the ultimate destination for all things comic book related. Whether you're a lifelong fan or just discovering the world of comics, this channel has you covered. From in-depth reviews and discussions to fan theories delving into any comic book related character you could think of, we dive deep into these stories and characters you love. But with all of that being said, Batman in the Marvel Universe would be an absolute terrific sight to see due to the interactions and possible characters that he would be involved with that could change so dramatically. And as I've already done what if Superman was in the Marvel Universe, and you guys seem to really enjoy that video, I thought I would do Batman just due to the fact of him being a character that would quite honestly have a very similar impact, but just on the almost opposite scale, due to the fact that he would be less categorized as a symbol of peace as Superman would be, and more as a bringer of justice in very easy senses to say. But with all of that said, let's actually start into what I think would happen if Batman was in the Marvel Universe. Batman is a character that specializes in skills, gadgets, and his detective abilities that would very easily translate into the Marvel Universe. There are not many characters that I could think of automatically that do superhero work the same way that he does, but there are obviously a few good examples of characters that would be similar to him in a lot of different senses. Whether we're talking about people like Iron Man, Reed Richards, or somebody like T'Challa as in the Black Panther. These three characters would be the most similar to him, being the smart billionaires that own companies or just have so much money and are still superheroes that you could possibly think of in a lot of situations. His persona and approach to crime fighting would be a lot different. Yeah, even if we chose to involve something like Gotham in the entirety of the Marvel universe and just add it in a subsection of somewhere like New York, it would still be a very much different thing because we would just be involving Batman in the DC universe, not somebody like the Joker, not somebody or anybody like Bane or all of the other various rogues that Batman has gained throughout his entire life as being Batman. But even without that, his abilities and his entire way of approach would just make it a very, very interesting situation on how he would interact with a lot of people. His alliances and team-ups with specific characters would be so interesting to see because there are a very good amount of characters that he would be able to interact with almost perfectly. These characters being people like Spider-Man, Daredevil, Black Panther, and Iron Man, as I've already mentioned a couple of those. I really see him being able to work well with most of these specific characters due to how they already would kind of correlate to people that he either knows or due to the just characteristics of these people. People like Spider-Man would be a very easy sell for Batman to be getting along with and getting acquainted with due to his entire upbringing. Somebody like Peter Parker, who has such a tragic backstory with his parents dying and Uncle Ben, would be a fairly good target for somebody like Bruce Wayne in terms of training, in terms of creating a bond with. And I honestly would see a very good situation as when Spider-Man would come up onto the scene, Batman would take him under his wing, seeing that he's at least trying to do good, and most likely teach Spider-Man how to use his abilities for his own betterment by teaching him either better martial arts, teaching him how to do a lot of different things, and really just creating an alliance with Spider-Man in that way. Somebody like Daredevil is quite possibly just the Marvel's version of Batman, and they have very similar characteristics, and I honestly see them teaming up quite a bit due to the fact that they both have this very scary demeanor in terms of their environments that they're in. The Devil of Hell's Kitchen and the Bat of Gotham. They both would just have these very terrifying personas that while they don't kill, they are very, very willing to maim you and bring you to the very close brink of death without ever getting you so far gone. Their training, their entire like fighting process would be a very nice thing to see, due to the fact that I honestly see that these two would probably be the main ones training with each other and just sparring, doing a lot of just like normal things to kind of gain their own abilities by testing them on each other. The two people with quite possibly the best kinds of martial arts that would just match well with each other. Now, obviously, when it comes to Black Panther and Iron Man, he would obviously have relations with both of these people due to him probably still having a company like Wayne Enterprises. Due to the fact that I'm just going to keep adding Wayne Tech because, one, it would make no sense to have Bruce Wayne as Batman not have something like that to be able to fund his entire habits. So it would be a very obvious thing that they would all know each other. They all being all of these rich people, specifically Bruce and Tony, would know each other from a very early age due to just having to run in the same social circles. As I really just see him being able to actively team up with all of these people would create almost perfect dynamics and synergies between a lot of these characters. And I really say that quite fairly well. It just would be something that I see a fairly good possibility of him doing a lot of different things. And one of the main other things that I see him being allied with would be people like the X-Men. Me and my friend were actively talking about this before I even got started with recording this video. And that would be the fact that Bruce is the kind of person that has so much money that he is still willing to actively help people, running orphanages, running all of these different things. And while he might not have full-on situations of having Robins in this specific world, the closest thing to being somebody like Peter Parker, Spider-Man, I still see him doing the same things. And people like the X-Men and the entirety of the Xavier School for Gifted would probably be highly funded by somebody like Bruce Wayne, who would be doing his best to just kind of make sure that their entire mutant species is taken care of to the best that they can be. And that's just something that I really see as a headcanon in my own mind. Now, obviously, with this being Batman, he would have various rivalries and conflicts, most specifically with people like the Punisher, Moon Knight, or even very much likely Tony Stark, due to the entirety of the differing personal views and just personalities between these characters. Obviously, people like the Punisher who kill would be very much akin to somebody like Jason Todd in terms of they are trying to do good, just doing it to the extreme and actively taking people out for good, which they could possibly have a decent relationship in terms of the same kind of relationship that the Punisher and Daredevil have. But it would obviously be one of those big rivalries where they are kind of going around the same territory, just doing it in two very, very distinctly different ways. Moon Knight would just be someone that he probably would have to talk to because of the fact that one of his personalities is a very rich person. So there would be a good possibility that he would obviously know Moon Knight in the first place. And again, the way that they do their hero work would just cause a lot of rivalry and conflict between them. Batman probably eventually just understanding that these are still not extremely like bad people, so he just wouldn't be bothered like trying to like, take them out like he goes to on his side of the justice. But there would just be a good situation of like very much conflict on that. And with him and somebody like Tony, the conflict would just be never ending, whether it's like both of their businesses almost always going against each other. So they would just be quite possibly arguing and rivaling just between day and night, whether they're doing hero work and whether they're doing their own superhero work. Because again, this is Batman. He's not going to tell people that he is Iron Man because he usually has some people to care about, whether it is the Robins, whether it's Alfred, or whether it's whoever that he has in his life at that exact moment in time. He's not going to be like Tony where he just lets everybody knows that he's the Batman. He'll be more of kind of a person that just kind of goes against that. So they would be another conflict on that, around the conflict of some people knowing that he's Batman and the people that know that he's Batman having to make sure they don't let the secret spill. And so it just kind of would be in a situation like that. Now, when we talk about something like his interaction with Marvel villains, this would be a fairly interesting thing to see due to the fact that most of his main villains obviously probably would be taken also being shared with other people, such as people like Doctor Doom, which I honestly see as a very good person for somebody like Batman. I also see him as an amazing villain for Superman, if we're being honest, but Doctor Doom would just be an extremely interesting character for Batman to have to go against due to the fact that they are both one extremely intelligent, and Doom would be a very good antithesis to somebody like Batman, being kind of like his version of Raish, just on a few differing extents, if we're being specifically honest. Obviously, it's not like the entirety of the League of Shadows or like League of Assassins. It's more of a situation where he is this very powerful political figure that Bruce is usually going to have to be fighting against on some specific way, but he can't really just do very much against. Also, like people like Kingpin, Green Goblin, or Thanos would probably be people that he has to go against at least some point in time. Kingpin obviously being his normal kind of Carmine Falcone-esque type of person that he would probably have to be facing off against. And Green Goblin probably having to deal with him just due to the fact that he is a very close mentor, like Batman would be a close mentor to somebody like Spider-Man, so they would probably just interact quite a bit. So Green Goblin would end up just having to be faced with battling it out and dealing with those two at almost any given point and time, and as a very just big like problem on almost any real occasion. Another thing that I would also like to talk about and specifically mention would be his impact on some of the greater storylines between the entirety of the Marvel cinematic or just any Marvel world in general. And that would be events like Civil War, the entirety Infinity Saga, or just dealing with people like Thanos, or even things like Secret Wars. Batman would be probably crucial in each one of these because, as you know, Batman will solo anything with prep time, and that argument really does annoy me, but giving Batman the ability to like actively be involved in these with his detective skills, with his abilities to do quite literally anything once he puts his mind to it, it really would be a situation where during Civil War, I see him most likely aligning himself with somebody like Captain America and going against the sanctioning of the government being almost on you at almost any given point in time due to the fact that one, he likes to keep his identity secret, so being sanctioned by the government really wouldn't be something that he would be feeling. He would prefer just being like his own entity, probably like doing something like the Watchtower, not being America alone, or just like specifically a thing like that. Yes, there would be a lot of chaos, and the Civil War would most definitely still happen, but I see Batman being on Captain America's side. Now, when we talk about something like the Infinity Saga, obviously, alone, Batman's not strong enough to deal with Thanos in any given point, but we have seen him be able to come up with and build very insane very insane Batman tech that can just go up against these crazy things. But either way, it's most of the situation where he could just be a very big help in terms of just leading them to other things. He would just be one of the other brains in the room that's able to detective and skill out quite a different few things. Hence why I think he would be a probably very prominent figure in something like Secret Wars, where they're trying to like deal with the entire thing of the scrolls and deal with the entire thing of like trying to figure out who is who. Batman, being such an intelligent person, would probably be able to figure things out like that almost instantaneously, being a very big help on that and being able to probably find a way to decipher a way to just kind of figure out who is who and make sure who is all of the real people. Now, the most important people that I probably see him having an impact on would be the street level heroes. People like the Defenders, people like Iron Fist, like people that he would probably be running into, specifically if he's in somewhere like New York, or even if we involve Gotham into the world, he would probably still be running into, because these are the people that would most likely be around the same areas as he is. So, people like Daredevil, as I've already mentioned, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, Iron Fist, Spider-Man, all of these street level people, I see him probably having a very good impact on due to the fact of him having so much money. He would be able to help them create better tech, better suits, better a lot of things in terms of general, like, well-being. and quite possibly even create like an entire team base dedicated to them. He would probably be the best help for them on in terms of just going from a street level kind of people to being a lot more important, because some of those people actually have skills that could be very useful. And I see an entire full-on thing like the Justice League coming about where they add new members in to the Avengers fairly often, and it becoming more of an entire worldwide thing instead of the way that it usually is, where it's like the specific group of members. Yes, each group, like the entire Avengers, would most likely never be in the exact same place. Some people being all the way off planet, some people being wherever they need to be. But I honestly see it being in like a more of a Justice League kind of situation where Batman or Shield, whoever was running the entirety of the Avengers, is making it more where anyone is welcome to join, as long as like everyone kind of agrees on that. Having the Watchtower base, as I've already mentioned, as like their main headquarters, and having like an entire Hall of Avengers or whatever, instead of like a Hall of Justice. Now, the last thing that I would like to talk about would be Gotham versus almost any of the other Marvel cities, like New York, Wakanda, or Latveria. This would be a very big difference if we like involved it, due to the fact of Gotham in his world is almost complete and utter chaos, and that is with the entirety of the Bat family. The main difference here would be the fact of Gotham would never really be as bad, due to the fact that there are so many more people that will not really care that Batman is there and go in and just take care of business. People like Frank Castle, people like Moon Knight or whatever, will just happily come in and take care of whatever they need to do. Frank Castle will be gunning people down if he needs to, and just absolutely murking his way out of Gotham entirely, just to make sure that the crime is kept to a low pace, which I really do see a likelihood of happening. So Gotham would be very much different in something like that, and would be much of a bigger difference, and a lot more akin to something like New York. Obviously, Wakanda really wouldn't be a very big comparison, due to the fact that that's just like completely closed off, and Gotham would still be like a normal city, but he would be at least trying to attempt to make it better. Now that there's a lot more people that's going to be like coming in, most likely, and there would be just a good few differences in terms of a lot of things. So when it really comes down to it, if Batman was in the Marvel Universe, I really see him quite honestly having a fairly good impact on a good portion of characters. As I've already stated, people like Spider-Man, the X-Men most specifically, and a lot of the people that he would interact with more, probably changing how the entire infrastructure of a couple things would work to a better level and to a better like extent. So I just see a very good likelihood of a lot of things changing in fairly many ways. Now, go down in the comments and please tell me what you guys honestly think would have happened if Batman had been in the Marvel Universe. I want to hear your thoughts and opinions and your entire reasonings for whatever ideas that you guys have in your heads. I would love to hear it, but with all of that said and done, I hope you guys did enjoy this video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.